Hello, welcome to our presentation today. We will be talking about the billionaires data set where we perform data analysis, and we did this with Enadina, Ginny, and Ivar's. So our agenda for today is an overview of the data set. Then we will show how we perform descriptive statistics, data visualization, random sampling, and significance testing. And lastly, we will end with a conclusion. Now I will give a little bit of an overview and insight into the data analysis that we did, like where the data originated from, some limitations we encountered, other research that was conducted using the data set, and some interesting observations we made. So the origin of the data set is the Forbes Top 100 Billionaires list, and they were the ones who collected the original variables. Now, later on, students from Peterson Institution for International Economics added additional information which was collected, compiled, and sorted by them. Now, this dataset focuses on the period from 1996 till 2014. And as mentioned before, Forbes is the origin of this dataset, and I will be giving a brief idea of how they collected all the relevant information to deem someone a billionaire. Now, this was a very thorough procedure as they took into account shareholder information, companies' financial statements, current exchange rates, even calculations where they subtracted candidates' debts from their net worth to give the most accurate estimate of their wealth. Moreover, outside of these factors, they also took into account individuals' wealth in art, jewelry, planes, yachts, car collections, private companies, real estate, and money they had given in donations. Now I will talk about the limitations that we encountered. So one of the limitations we encountered was missing values for some categorical data in our variables. Another limitation was true values. Now here we mean that in some of the columns, the only factor or value that was given to us was true, and we couldn't interpret these correctly for our data analysis, which resulted in us having to exclude them from our research. These variables included wealth how was founder and wealth how was political. Now, another limitation that we encountered was that within the list, not everyone was taken into account, meaning that the rank of billionaires does not take the full population of billionaires when doing the sampling, resulting in potential limitations. The individuals they don't include consist of people who have acquired their wealth through illegal activities, such as drug lords or human trafficking, or individuals who inherited their wealth through monarchs or country leaders. And lastly, the last limitation we encountered was that in some of the variables, the names that were given were at first glance the same, but later we found out that their spelling differed, meaning that they were categorized as different variables. This could be something like cigarette and cigarettes, meaning that we couldn't take these factors for our analysis, and this could result in major limitations. Now to talk about the other research that was conducted using this data, was used for the movement of billionaires and the highest reward systems. Now, the intention of that paper aimed to contribute to the previous analysis with the purpose to provide a comprehensive look at the movement of the super rich individuals, with a focus on their businesses across the years, industries, and countries. In addition, the data was used to examine the fields in which economic activities had the highest reward systems broken down to each country. Furthermore, adding the variables gives detailed information on the individuals and helps with identifying common patterns within the world of billionaires. Now, Bakshi and Sauvignon in 2013 also used the dataset to study inequalities based on wealth by calculating people's income, with the main focus being on political connections. Now, lastly, some of the interesting observations we made when we were studying the dataset and performing our data analysis was inequalities and born billionaires. So we found interesting that the dataset is very, very predominant in the inequalities, especially in the gender, where the field of billionaires is dominated by men, showing further inequalities between genders. However, we were not the only ones who found this interesting, since, as mentioned before, there was other research conducted with a focus on this. Now, the other interesting observation we made was concerning within our data set, there were some variables in the demographics age that were zero. Now, these refer to people who were born billionaires. So, from the moment they were born, they have inherited their wealth, making them born billionaires.
So, for our descriptive statistics, we started analyzing the categorical data. So, for the first pivot table, we measured the wealth type and demographics gender. So, we found that the inherited wealth type was the most predominant, while the executive was the most rare out of all of them. However, due to the predominance of the inherited wealth type, we encounter some problems when doing other analysis and tests due to its connection to the age demographic variable. We'll talk about this limitation afterwards. And already in this analysis, we can see that the big differences in the numbers of male and female. So for the second pivot table, we measured the company sector again with demographics gender. So we selected the 5 company sectors we found the most interesting to observe, this being alcohol, food packaging, pharmaceuticals, software, and toys. So when looking at the female column, we could see that the most dominant one was pharmaceuticals, while the least predominant ones were alcohol and software. So when looking at male, we found that the most dominants were pharmaceutical and software. So, however, even if the predominant sector for women is pharmaceuticals, we can see that men are still dominating in that sector, again showing the inequalities. But when looking at married couples, we can only find them again in the pharmaceutical sector.
So for our descriptive statistics categorical data, um, we have our wealth types and our genders distributed according to the wealth types. Our genders are distributed with a line based on average, which was more reflecting than for example, a polynomial line. Furthermore, a choice was made to take away the blanks to show more the data that we want to focus on, which unfortunately takes away 22 data points. However, it is a small amount of data out of our whole, but it is still 22 data points. Finally, at first, the columns that are present on our box plot were supposed to be only showing the grand total in order to have more lines based on average that would represent the male, female, married, yes. However, we decided then to show also the male statistics in a column in a box plot in order to show the massive influence of the male statistics presence, male billionaires, in comparison to other gender categories, and how much portion share is taken up by male billionaires. This second graph shows us a stacked bar graph showing us the different company sectors and their share of gender categories. So we have toys, pharmaceuticals, food packaging, alcohol, and software. The reason why we wanted to make the stacked bar graph, which could seem pretty simple from an exterior look, is because we wanted to show again how much dominance is taken up by male billionaires in the majority of company sectors.